What's up guys, CSO here. Today I'm gonna show you how to use Dirac Live, how to measure your speakers and your subwoofers with Room EQ Wizard, how to EQ them and turn those filters to target curves, which you can apply in Dirac Live. If you're only here for the EQ part, all you gotta do is just follow the timestamps down below and jump to that part of the video. Before we begin, what I need you to do is watch my ultimate subwoofer guide video first and set the proper levels for your subwoofers and the trim level in the AVR, and then come back here and keep watching the video. So buckle up and let's get started. So this is my seating arrangement, and I'm gonna start by showing you how to measure, how to move the mic around. I'm gonna show you a picture on screen, and that is what we're gonna follow. Basically, we're gonna do 9 measurements at the main listening position and then 2 more measurements at each additional secondary seating positions. So we're gonna do ear level measurements, 6 of them around the MLP, only moving the mic 8 inches at a time. We're not gonna move it more than 8 inches. We're gonna go to the side, forward, back to the center, but 8 inches away from the back, 8 inches over, 8 inches back. And then we're gonna do 2 more measurements, which is gonna be 8 inches higher, and 1 more measurement which is gonna be lower. For that lower measurement, you might have to remove the mic off of the stand and prop it up somehow. Usually I use the pillows. Make sure you don't use anything with hard surface like books or any boxes. I use the pillows, put it on the sides, and I will prop up the mic there. With the secondary positions, we're gonna go back to ear level and only 2 measurements per side. So we're gonna make a measurement there, move it 8 inches forward, and the same on this side. We don't want to move the mic more than 3 feet, but try to stay under 2, around 2, max 3 feet when you move and measure a secondary position. Okay, so if you have a really wide couch and somebody will sit 4 or 5 feet away from you for some reason, don't go out that far. You're only gonna move the mic 2, max 3 feet. Another thing to consider and keep in mind is that you want to make sure the tip of the mic stays away from the back wall and from the side walls at least 1 foot away. Okay, so let's start Dirac. If you have never used it, I'm gonna go through the most important things. Obviously, the microphone should be already hooked up to your laptop, and it should be at the first position that you're gonna measure. You're gonna start Dirac, click on your receiver, and once it loads up, you're gonna see that it will show you the microphone selection screen. If it's not selected automatically, select your UMIC 1 mic. If it's asking you for the calibration file, click on browse and find it. If you didn't download it yet, all you gotta do is just look at the little label that's on the microphone, go to Mini DSP website and enter the code, download the file, and load up the 90-degree calibration file here. If it's not asking you automatically to load it up, you can right click on that little graph and load from file. Okay, now we're gonna click on proceed measurement level. Okay, this is what worked for me. I have redone my measurement countless times so far. Every time it worked. I used to have some issues, but not anymore. I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna see where the mic gain is at. You see it was 666. Anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna move the mic gain until we get the noise floor to minus 55 dB. Okay, so I'm gonna stay quiet again. Hopefully everybody's quiet in the room. The cat is not meowing, the dog is not wiggling its tail, banging on the washer wherever it's sitting, and AC off if you can turn it off. If you have a wall clock that's ticking, take it off. Take it to the bathroom, cover it with a towel, do something. So keep it as quiet as possible, and then you can come back to this one. So let's adjust this.
There you go, we went from 666 to 555. I love it. Now we're gonna play the pink noise for the first speaker and then adjust the master output that we're gonna land 30 dB higher volume, so it's going to be at minus 25 dB. That's perfect. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but close enough. I would say like a half a dB off is okay. I mean, half a dB you can adjust, but if you are 0.2 dB off, just leave it. It's fine. Also, if for some reason that minus 25 dB is just way too loud for you, I mean, I don't think it's super loud, to be honest with you. You're not gonna sit in front of the speaker. You're not gonna sit in between the speakers. I'm just showing you how to do this. But you will need to be out of the way when you do this, okay? And once you do the measurements, because the pink noise is not as bad, once you do the measurements, that gets a little bit louder since it plays the high frequencies. As long as you just move out of the way like a little bit, it should be okay. If you really must lower the volume, lower it by 5 dB and try your luck. Hopefully it works if you set them to minus 30 dB instead of minus 25. But if you get any error on the right hand side, big yellow error saying something about noise, you have to come back to that measurement level and adjust the master output. Okay? By the way, if you decide to lower the volume from minus 25 to minus 30, obviously you should not mess with individual sliders with speakers. You're gonna adjust the master output. Whatever you set up, even if the levels are all over the place, once you set the master output lower or higher, all those measurements will move with it. Let's go and measure everything else. Okay, I left the subwoofer for last for a reason, but basically if a set of speaker is completely off, it's fine. Sensitivity of each speaker is different. The way how they are angled might be different. Maybe you have the surround speaker pointing right at the microphone while the front speakers are not towed in, or multiple other reasons. Also, if we are looking at matching speaker level differences, if you have an open concept room and one speaker is in the corner, as you can see it with that door and the wall being right next to that speaker is going to be louder than the speakers that are on the middle of the wall. So those speakers, everything that's on this side, for me, is lower than the other ones. So don't be surprised if that happens with you. If you have a perfect square rectangle room, you should be okay. Subwoofer, I left it for the last because I wanted to mention that as long as you set up the subwoofer beforehand, you should be okay. You're gonna match the subwoofer level with the rest of the speakers, okay? If there are multiple things that you can do depending where you land with the trim levels at the end. Most probably Dirac won't really land you on the same position where you started at before. We set up the subwoofer at -7 trim. It's not gonna set you back to the same place. It's fine. Also, before you run Dirac, you don't have to mess with any of the settings. You don't have to change your crossovers. You don't have to change your nothing. The delays, you don't have to zero out your delays. None of that. Dirac will reset everything. So don't mess with any settings beforehand. Okay? The only thing you have to mess with is you have to correctly set up your speaker selection. So if you have a 7 or 5.1.4 with a subwoofer, make sure the subwoofer is selected to yes. Obviously, you set up the subwoofer before, so it should be on. And, the speaker count is correct. So once we run Dirac, and if you have one subwoofer only, even after calibration, you can just set the trim level to -7 and adjust the gain. Also, I'm going to show you how to EQ the subwoofer. So wait with the gain adjustments until you do the EQ, because EQ will change it. You always have to readjust the gain after you mess with the PEQs, okay? And also we're gonna add, instead of messing with the gain, my gains are all set, instead of messing with the gains individually, because I have 3 subwoofers and it will be really hard to adjust every single knob in a way that we'll end up with the same balance in between the 3 subwoofers or 2 subwoofers or 4. It's really hard to do. So we're gonna do a room curve instead, which you can do with single or multiple subwoofers, and not just can, but you should, in my opinion. So let's do this, let's level match, and we're gonna see where we end up, and we go from there. I'm gonna let all the subwoofers wake up, so it's gonna go for a few seconds. I see the LEDs blinking. I think that's enough, so let's adjust a couple dB higher. Oh, actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust everything to 25, okay? So that's fine. So let's go back to the front left, that is at 25.5. Actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust this down, actually higher, 30 dB, lands at 25 dB, perfect. That's good. That's 0.2 dB away, that's fine. Yeah, when you have to select between being over or under, just whichever lets you land 0.2 away. So it's either 25.2 or 24.7, while the 25.2 is closer, so go for that. Okay, is that all? 25, everything 25. The subwoofer is a tiny bit hot, but it's okay. Now let's keep going, and then here at the sweet spot selection, we're gonna select expanded and keep going. Okay, now here you can see there are a bunch of dots. The first one and the most important one is the MLP. That is what we're gonna measure, make sure that the microphone is where it needs to be, and then each new measurement is going to be 8 inches away, except the 2 outer seating positions, the secondary seating positions. Hopefully those won't really land more than 2 or 3 feet away from the original MLP position, okay? As far as I know, it doesn't really matter which position you select. I even seen an interview with one of the guys from Dirac. He was saying that only the original MLP measurement, you know, what's important. Everything else gets averaged, so it doesn't matter. He was saying not even the size matters. I like to keep the size the same. I don't think it's a big of a deal to do so, so you don't have to stress over, oh, do I select back, front, top, bottom? That doesn't matter. It's all just averaged. It's not being accounted for like, oh, this was this much up front, and that's, you know, it's not gonna get counted like that. We're gonna start there, and once we move around to the right, I'm gonna select the back top right. Once we move forward 8 inches, I'm gonna select the front top right. Once we move to the middle, 8 inches away in front of the original one, I'm gonna select the plus position down here below, okay? Once we go to the left, my left forward position, I'm gonna select the front top left. Once it's moved back 8 inches, I'm gonna select the back top left. When I measure the two higher position at MLP, I'm gonna just use these two up here, and then once I measure the one that's below 8 inches, I'm gonna click on the plus sign again down below. The two secondary positions, I'm just gonna use these. That's for the right side, and this is for the left side. Okay, so make sure main position is selected. Here you can set a delay. Usually 5 seconds is enough, unless if you are using a walker or something, if you have broken legs. 5 seconds should be more than enough to get out of the way. I'm actually gonna move the camera and record the whole shenanigan, and I'm gonna fast forward that so you guys can see how I move the mic. Welcome back. I want to load up what I just did prior to this. Ta-da! This is what we measured. If you have never used Dirac, right side you see groups, left side you see your measurement. You can zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, right click, drag it around, zoom out. Make sure that you see up top, you see the frequency, and on the left side you're gonna see the bass region, and on the right you're gonna see the treble, the highs. Okay, you have 0 dB on the middle right here, and you have curtains on the left and the right side that you can move in and out. You have sliders that goes up and down, and each group have 2 buttons here. Once you can select individual target curves and move them around, or you can select this one here, which is gonna be the slider. I would not do anything with this. You see the frequency response. Do not try to move stuff around and hope that it's actually gonna work. You're gonna see it from this video. When I apply the curve, it almost looks like it's putting it's cutting something from a dip to make it even deeper, but it's actually not what it's happening. So disregard some of these dips and stuff and peaks. Dips and peaks here, don't go by that. I'm gonna right click and restore default target curve. As you can see, usually what's recommended is to boost the low end, and sometimes it's recommended to roll off the highs a little bit. I can't really say how much you should do. It's completely up to you. You can try a couple different things. Dirac gave me 8 dB by default. Also, I wanted to show you, I have a couple different lines here. The pink is the left one, yellow is the right speaker. The thin line is the original measured response, and the thicker one with the dots in it, that's the corrected measurement. So you can move around the sliders up and down. As you can see, the left slider starts rolling up from like 200 Hertz or so, and the right slider, it more or less starts rolling things off from around 1,000, maybe a little bit higher, but more or less around 1,000. It's where it starts really rolling off things. Okay, Let's put this back to 0.5. Let's just restore. There you go. Something about the Dirac, if there is something below the target curve, that will be boosted. So if you have nulls in here and there, whatever that's below the target curve, it will be boosted by Dirac. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The what other thing that you have to pay attention to is the left slider, especially at the subwoofer. That's the most important. So let's go there. Originally this was here. It's not showing that. Reset curtains, there you go. Originally it was here. So as you can see how the target is going up, it's bulging up to the original measurement. That's because of the curtain. So you have to move the curtain as much to the left that bulging is going away. But you do not want to boost the LFE, the base, by moving this curtain way too left. You're gonna see that the thicker line is gonna jump in a second. There you go. You see how we are going further out than the measured? That's boosting the bass. With the subwoofer, definitely don't do that, because my sub does measure down to like 17 hertz and then rolls off. And you know, if we go up, like let's say, oh, let's do a 9 dB curve, you're gonna see that it's going to boost the lower end a few hertz lower, which is, I don't want to do that. So let's move the curtain, which is like stuck here. So we are moving the curtain again. The very front of the curtain, that's gonna change. So if you move it too much to the right, it's going to bulge. So you have to find a nice balance. Okay, when it comes to the speakers, what I would do is I would adjust the slider so the target curve is gonna fall off by your weakest subwoofers roll-off point. I got two 10-inch subwoofers on the front that they roll off around 30 hertz or so. The back 14-inch subwoofer goes down to like 17. So I'm gonna adjust the speaker curtain, left curtain, until that point. Okay, I used to believe that, oh my god, you can't do that because you're boosting stuff. With the speaker, it's not gonna matter, because every speaker is going to be bass managed, meaning every single speaker will have redirected bass to the subwoofers, so it really doesn't matter. So what I would do is I would export the filters into the first slot as default, but the subwoofer will be EQ'd, but the speakers will be default. If you want, you can take a look at how I would decide what curve I want to use. I would look at what the speaker can do. Obviously the right speaker, as you can see, has more bass because it gets boundary reinforcement from it being in the corner. I would look at the other speaker, and I know I have ran Dirac a couple times, always sets my crossovers to 70 hertz, so it's still kind of doing okay around 70 hertz. I would say I would put it to like 7 dB just so I avoid some of these little tiny dips a little bit more. I don't even care about that because that's under 50, but around 70 to 80 hertz, I see there is a little dip there, so I pulled it underneath. I don't think I will hear too much difference between 7 or 8 dB curve. As I said in my other video, you could leave the speakers on 100 hertz. It doesn't matter. As long as the subwoofer takes over and plays the bass, it don't matter. And the LFE is a lot louder. You're not gonna hear differences. But anyway, center is going to be matched with the front, so I'm gonna pull it up to 7. Some people say at the Dirac Facebook groups that every one of your speakers should match the curve, even the surrounds or whatever small Atmos speakers you have, it should have the same curve. It will be bass managed anyway. I don't know. I keep the LCR the same, and then the surrounds and everything else stays at 3.5 in my case. Yeah. Okay. And then, well, the subwoofer doesn't really matter, but for now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna zero out this and we're gonna save it, and we have to measure it, and that's how we EQ everything. Actually, once we save this into a slot, I'm not going to right now, we would go back and save everything as a flat target curve. How you do that is you click on the peak on a group, and you're gonna pull down the left slider to 0, pull the right slider to 0. You're gonna make sure that the left curtain is pulled left as much so you don't have a bulge right there. You're gonna click on the group and save target curve, name it flat, and next time you can just click on the next group, right click, load target curve, and select flat target curve that you just saved, and you see it just flattened everything out. And you can keep doing this to the same, apply the same target curve to every single group. Just make sure you move the left curtain if you have to, and then save that into a flat, export that filter, name it flat, and save that to a slot. So let's do that, let's save it, and then we're gonna measure the speakers and the sub. Well, let's focus on the subwoofers first. We're gonna measure and EQ the subwoofer. We're gonna come back to this and apply that target curve to the subwoofer, and we're gonna finalize the first slot, which is going to be, I'm getting a call, sorry about that. So we're gonna come back to Dirac, and I'm gonna finalize that slot as a direct default with custom EQ for the subwoofer. Make sure every time you do something, save the project. So if you want, you can save the flat project if you want, but the most important thing is to save the project. Before you have made everything flat, save that original project. If you have messed around and moved stuff around, all you gotta do is just right click on something and restore target curve. And if you want, right click and not do that, right click and reset curtain on that group. Okay, and then you can readjust this to whatever you want. I will readjust it to 7 or whatever you want to do. Okay, now we have that saved. Let's close it. Yes. Now we're gonna start up Room EQ Wizard. If you have never used Room EQ Wizard, what you're gonna do is, first of all, it might tell you, oh, I recognize the Umic One mic, would you like to add a calibration file? Do that. If it didn't ask you, it should, but if it didn't ask you, you can go into the preferences, calibration file, and you can load up that calibration file for the Umic One mic over here. Okay, under the sound card, make sure that the output device is not left. Okay, unlike Dirac, you will need an HDMI cable for Room EQ Wizard. Let's change the input so I can see Room EQ Wizard and I can hear you, Room EQ Wizard. Very important, if you have done calibration before and you just saved a new one as a flat, make sure that when you change an input, check on two things. Check on if the right calibration is active, and check on the subwoofer trim level. Okay, because once you switch over from whatever the Dirac was ran, it might have been on the media player input. Now you switch over to this one, and on I got auxiliary input selected. Instead of slot 3, what I just saved, it might be still on slot 1. So I have to make sure that we go back to slot 3. There you go. And when I go to the levels, it gave me minus 1.5 dB. Oh, back to this. Now you can select exclusive AV receiver as an output device, and the input device is the microphone. Then what we're going to use next is the SPL meter and the generator. If it's giving you an issue like this, try to close it and open it up again. If it's not working, you're going to have to shut Room EQ Wizard down and open it again. If the numbers are red and it's not moving, you can do the same thing again. Now it's working. And then the generator in the SPL meter, you're going to select SPL, obviously, C waiting, and S for slow. Make sure that the little button is pressed here so the numbers are moving. In the generator, we're going to use noise and either sub calibration or speaker calibration. The noise signal level is going to be minus 20 dB, and then output is going to be either left or center or the LFE. Another super important thing to do, depending on what kind of receiver you have and what kind of volume, relative or absolute, you use, you're gonna set the volume to 10 dB below reference. That means that if 0 on your receiver is super loud, you're gonna set the volume right now on your receiver to minus 10 dB instead of 0. If let's say 70 or 80 is loud on your receiver, you're gonna set your volume to either 70 or 72. If you have Denon, Marantz, or Yamaha receiver, you're gonna set the receiver to you're gonna set your receiver to 70 dB. If you have Onki or Integra Pioneer, you're gonna set it to 72 dB. And both of these numbers are 10 dB below your reference, sorry. And because of that, we are sending a 10 dB higher signal when we do the pink noise or the sweeps, okay, the measurement sweeps. So that's why we are doing minus 20 dBFS. Also, if you have watched my subwoofer guide, now you know that we are not gonna use the internal test tones because that defeats the calibration. So I will also link a video down below that you can use to level match all speakers, including the Atmos speakers, because Room EQ Wizard only does bed layer ones, okay? So what we're gonna do is the volume is, for me, is gonna be set to 72 because I have an integral receiver where 82 would be the reference, and we are sending a minus 20 dBFS pink noise to the LFE. We're gonna start playing that, but we're gonna make sure that the trim level is a little bit lower than what it was before, and we want to make sure we land at 85 dB. We have to wait until all the subwoofers wake up and see where we get to and adjust the trim level. Okay, so I went from minus 1.5 to 5 dB, minus 5 dB or so. Actually, I can go even minus 4.5. Okay, let's leave it 4.5. Now we want to do a measurement, so we're gonna click on measure. We're gonna name it Dirac on but flat. Start frequency 0 and frequency 200. The measurement level is going to be minus 20 dBFS. The length is going to be 512K, which is 10 seconds. No timing reference for now. If you do timing, if you want to check on the speakers, if Dirac done it good and you want to see the timing, you will have to select acoustic timing reference, but we are not worrying about that right now. And then we're going to select LFE. Usually I like to click on check levels for a couple times to make sure. You see it, I clicked on it and I just heard a click from the receiver. It wasn't ready. So usually I like to click on the check level a couple of times to make sure all the subwoofer and everything is ready to roll. Okay, that is what we got. Also with the subwoofer, usually I do not move out of the way. The low bass notes are, the wavelength is a lot longer than the body, so you should not need to move out of the way. Okay. Click on all SPL, so whenever we do any measurements, that's gonna show up on the left. You don't have to like click one by one to see the individual measurement. Everything is gonna show up here. Down below you see the hertz, 10 to 200. On the left side you see the SPL. If you don't see the graph like this, you can right click and move it around. You can also click on 10 to 200, which will be showing the bass region. You can also click on limits. Usually I like to set it from 10 Hz to 200 and the SPL starting at 100 on the top and 55 on the bottom. So let's click on that. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's good, that's good. Let's leave it like that. So you see I have a little bit of peak here and there. Nothing super crazy, but we can fix this and make it better. And the reason I have that big peak around 30 Hz is because that's where the two smaller subwoofers start helping out. That's why there's a big bump there. And we're gonna do the EQ, which will EQ all the subwoofers together as a unison instead of EQing individual stuff. Okay, again, this is the EQ. Click on 10 to 200 that we can see this. Under EQ we're gonna keep everything as generic. Target setting is going to be, it don't matter, subwoofer is fine, full range speaker will be okay too. Once you click on calculate target level, you see a blue line emerge. Well, we don't want to roll it off like this, so usually I just select 200 Hz for the bass management cutoff. I also not gonna cut anything off on the bottom, so I set 0. That's why I said that you can basically just select full range speaker. It's fine. We're not gonna use any room curve here. We're gonna add that room curve in that generator that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna show you and I'm gonna use. Click on target level and you can see that for some reason it just changed completely. Let me see what it does if we put it back to. It's not gonna change too much. Anyway, we have calibrated the subwoofer for 85, so we're gonna jump back to 85 dB. And you can even go back a little bit. We don't need to cut too much. Basically, what you wanna do is you don't wanna deliberately go under any big nulls. The subwoofer does roll off under 80 Hz. We're just gonna leave it like that. That's fine. But if you see a null, like let's say right here, 40, 50, around 20, if that null will be a lot bigger, and 85 dB will go above that, or I'm sorry, if 85 dB will go below that, you can bump it up a little bit so you leave it alone. With the null, whatever we do, it's basically boosting. To be honest with you, even if it's we are not trying to boost it, basically we are. Imagine we have peaks on the both end and we have a null. So if we take these peaks and we pull them down to be on level with the null, but then we need to adjust the gain so it's on the target level, we are indirectly moving that null up a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it like this at 86 dB, and then the match range is going to be 10 to 200 Hz under the filter tasks. Individual max boost, don't go above 3 dB. Why this helps is if there is a little null, like right here at 20 hertz, if we equal everything down next to it, it will keep that whatever we pull down, those peaks, it will pull down the null also. That little individual max boost basically makes sure that that null is back where it was originally. I can show it in a second. Overall max boost is 0, flatness target is 1, and then allow low shelf and the allow narrow filters below 200 hertz. Those are things that we can play. Sometimes they help, sometimes they don't. About the narrow filters, all I have to say is we're gonna try to keep, well, not we're gonna try, we are going to keep everything under 8 Q factor 8. That's the width of the PEQ. We want to make sure that none of the PEQs are narrow or sharp, okay? Once you click on EQ filters, this is where all the EQ filters will show up. For now, let's click on match response to target. This is what we got. As you can see, I mean, it has a little bit of waviness, but it's nice. As you can see, this is the frequency, the center of that PEQ. This is how much it got boosted or cut, and this is the width of that PEQ, the Q number, the width of it. Now, as you can see, everything is under 8, which is good. Let's see what it does if I select this and make it 0. Most probably this might change a little bit and this might change a little bit. A little bit it did, not much, but you see everything is just a little bit more all over the place. That's why I like to give it individual max boost as 3, because it just gets it a little bit flatter. Now we can try allow narrow filters below 200. It didn't really make it any better. It didn't really apply anything. Let's allow low shelf. Let's see what that does. It did create an 11, which is number 3. If you do this, and for some reason you like this more with the low shelf and the narrow filters, for some reason this will give you like the nicest result, but there is 1 or 2 filter that's larger than 11. You can also change it to 8 and see what it does. You see, I changed it to 8. It barely made anything worse. So we could leave it like this. If this is the flattest we got so far, we can leave it like this. As long as all the PQs are above 8, we are good. Okay, so this is good. We can go and save filter coefficients to file. So we're gonna click on that. Sample rate 96 kilohertz, mini DSP. Click on OK, and we're gonna save that. I already done it before, but let's do it again. And then we save the EQ. If you want, you can click generate measurement from predicted, and that is our predicted. Now we're gonna go to that website, which I'm going to link down below, and this is the target curve generator, room correction target curve generator. Basically this is our house curve or room curve. Okay, so that's what it looks like by default. This is more or less something like what Dirac does. It starts rolling up around 200 hertz and then starts rolling down around 5,000. Okay, up here we're gonna leave the steps per octave at 6. You don't have to change that. The start hertz, you can change this to the lowest measure frequency or just leave it at 10. It's fine. I would try to keep it maximum 10 hertz away from your lowest measurement. So if your subwoofer only measures to 30 hertz, put it to 10 or put it to 25, but keep it a good 5-10 hertz below your lowest measurement. And hertz 200, since this is a subwoofer. start dB, we can start with a 7 and see where we land, and the end dB we're gonna set it to 0 because, as I said, this is a subwoofer, we are not gonna roll it off. The low cut, we're gonna change it to 119 and the high cut to 120. These numbers cannot be the same. It needs to be at least 1 dB difference, 1 hertz, I'm sorry. These cannot be the same hertz, at least 1 hertz difference needs to be in between. Click on generate, and this is our house curve, but I don't like how it goes up. This is fine for speakers, but for subwoofers I would select this one. I think it's pronounced cosine, if I'm correct, but this is what we need. It starts rolling up around 100 hertz and starts being flat around 20 to 30 hertz or so. It's where it kind of gets just flat. Okay, you can change this a little bit if you want your bass to start rolling up a little bit higher. If you want, you can change this to, let's see what 159 and 160 does. Generate, you see this one, yeah, starts rolling up around well 130 is where it kind of like starts giving you almost a dB. But I'm gonna change it back. This is how I do it. I think it's fine. What is it? 120. Generate. Now we're gonna copy this code. We're gonna go back to the other one, paste it, open up our target curve that we saved. Okay, this is our text file. Let's copy out the bytecodes and paste it onto the middle. And come on, laptop. Click on generate, and this is our EQ with our room curve. So let's save this to LFE EQ Gen 28. Download the file. I have already one saved before, but that's fine. Now we're gonna open up Dirac again. Basically the speaker is going to be the same once we do the speakers. This is more important, I believe. Dirac does pretty good job with the speakers as is. You can still mess around, and there are things that this EQ will get more flat and correct, but you don't want to over flatten things. So that's why I usually have one exported filter slot as default, one that I only EQ until 500 hertz, and then the last one is going to be up to 1500 hertz. But it's up to the speaker and what you see, what your speaker does in your room. Okay, so let's go to the subwoofer for now. Right click and load target curve that we just saved today, and this is what we got. So you see, I was mentioning earlier that you should not try to like go by the eye and then mess with the target points by yourself. As you can see here, it's basically putting like, it shows that at 30 hertz or so there's a dip. If you measure with Room EQ Wizard, there is no dip at 30 hertz. It has a peak. So yes, I mean, you cannot go by the measured frequency response in target in Dirac. It's just, it's not really showing what it's supposed to show or what Room EQ Wizard sees. I don't know why that is. Check again on the left curtain. As you can see, it goes a little bit below the measured one, so I'm gonna pull it back just like that. This is something that you might have to experiment with. I just moved it, and if you measure it and then this one goes below what we measured originally, the red one is the original one, you might have to pull that curtain back even more, so the you see the target curve starts bulging up. So yeah, it is something that you have to experiment with and see what works and what doesn't. I'm just gonna pull it back how I had it. I'm just gonna make sure that more or less that left side kind of lines up. For now, I'm gonna make sure that the measured and the corrected more or less lines up, and then save it and see what I get. Okay, we would save this, obviously. Let me redo this. So this one was at 7, 3.5, custom EQ 3.5, 3.5. Okay, I'm gonna save this as our default, January 28, saved, and I'm gonna actually save it to the Dirac default with custom LFE, and we still have to see if we land on the target. Let's close it. We're gonna go back to my quick settings and see the levels. So we started at minus, I think it was minus 4.5 where we had it last time. We added a room curve, so we should be above that. It is, so let's keep going. I mean, it should be minus 7. That's pretty good. I mean, half a dB, max 1 dB, I'm okay with it. It's not gonna be a big difference. Personally, I would rather be at 86 than 84, but we are on level, so let's measure. I mean, as you can see it on that little graph, this looks gorgeous. And there you have it. The reason why that above 80 Hertz is lower is the way how this room curve is, it works is you start boosting up. Let's anchor our response at 200 Hertz. You boost up, how you saw I did with the room curve, but because we are above our target, we need to adjust the trim level lower. And because of that, there is a new anchor on this. In this case, that's more or less about like 60 Hertz in between more or less 120 and the 0 is where our new anchor is, because we are moving it, you see, like that. So that is why it's happening. If we add a 10, 12 dB and we adjust the trim levels again or the gain to be on level, you're gonna see the same thing. So the above 60 Hertz is gonna go higher, and whatever that's below 60 Hertz is gonna go lower. Okay, which is normal, it's fine. The reason why we're adding a room curve, I mean, that's just so beautiful, no, isn't it? But anyway, the reason why we do a room curve is because how our ear hears and understand frequencies. The lower the frequencies, the louder it needs to be, so our ears hears it as the same volume. Usually people do 5 to 10 dB room curve. I land on the middle, so I think I did 7, I believe is what we did. I love it. It sounds awesome, tight, not boomy. I never adjust the trim levels unless if I watch like a really old movie from the 90s or something, or maybe early 2000s. That's when I have to like boost the LFE a little bit, the trim level, because it just lacks LFE. But every single movies for the last 20 years, I mean, it's this as is spot on. Okay. I have seen people adding even more. I have seen somebody on AVS forum adding a 10 dB per octave curve, which is basically 20 dB rise from 120 Hertz to 20 Hertz. It did have like 4 PSA 18 or 21 inch subwoofers, so obviously not many of us can do that. All I can tell you is I got two 10 inches on the front. They only go down to 30 Hertz or so, and then the 14 inch, which goes down, as you can see it, goes down to like 16 Hertz or so. No noise, no compression, no issues. Okay, you can do compression tests with Room EQ Wizard. What you would do is, if you want, you can turn off all the subwoofers but one, and you can do this without Dirac and with this calibration on. And what you would do is you do measurements the same way, 0 to 200. You would name everything correctly, please, and don't forget to lower the volume to, like, let's say minus 20 dB. You should not see any issues close to reference level. So you set the volume even lower. If, let's say, like 60, if you use the volume where 70 and 80 is louder, put it to like 62 or 66 or whatever. Or if you use the volume where 0 is being the loud one, then put it to minus 20. Do a measurement. You can, if you want, you can do a repeated measurement. You can put it to like let's say 10 measurements or whatever, 7 measurements. Start the measurement, and once a measurement happens, boost the volume 3 dB. One more measurement, boost the volume 3 dB. Every time it measures, you raise the volume 3 dB. Once you start hearing that there is an issue with the subwoofer, stop the measurement. Look at the graph, and what you're gonna see is you're gonna see the spacing between each measurement is going to be the same until a point where probably on the low end the gap is gonna be smaller. That is where your subwoofer is going to start compress. So now you know that with that calibration, that is what your subwoofer can do. So don't pass that volume, okay? Or you need to mess with the room curve. But I did not have any issues yet with this room curve with any reasonable volume so far. You can do the same thing with the speakers. That's how I tested the you can let Dirac do the crossover, or what you can do is you can set the speakers to full range or large and do the same thing. You do a measurement from let's say your manufacturer says that your front speaker can go from 45 to whatever. Take that 45, deduct 10, let's measure from 35 Hertz to like 200, because we only care about the bottom half of the bass region, okay? So we're gonna do the same repeated measurement, and we're gonna set the volume lower, and we're gonna keep going up 3 and 3 and 3 and 3. You're gonna look at the SPL. Of course, stop the measurement once you hear that something sounds funky. Stop the measurement and see where your speaker is start compressing at 40 Hertz at whatever volume that was. Usually what I like to do is start from a nice even number, let's say 60, and then let's say you start at 60, and every 3 dB one measurement, so you can calculate how many measurement you are on the 5th measurement. So that means 60, you start at 60, 3 times 5, that's 15, so 75 dB is your point where you start, the speaker starts compressing. Or if you want, you can do individual and rename every single measurement one by one and include the volume that you did it on. It's an option. Once you see that it starts compressing at 40, you might want to set the crossover at 50 and do more measurement, and maybe you're gonna see that you won't really compress until volume 80 or reference or 0, which most probably you will never listen to movies at that level. So you are golden, you're good. That being said, you can just go with whatever Dirac does. To be honest with you, if you do not have a separate amplifier for your speakers, don't lower the volumes. You're putting a tremendous amount of stress on that receiver. Setting the crossover from 80 to 40 hertz requires well over the double the power for that speaker, if not quadruple the power that it needs to do that. Anyway, so I'm super happy with this. I love it. So we already have that saved. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure one of the speakers. So measure from 10 to 20,000. Level is 72. Let's go. Yeah, that is more like it. There you go. So yeah, there was definitely something going on there. Okay, so VAR smoothing, and each speaker should be set to 75. We can double check that. Speaker left. Okay, graph, VAR smoothing. Okay, so this is our speaker calibrated to 75 dB. Now we're gonna go to EQ. We're gonna set the target type to full range, low frequency cutoff to 0. We are not doing any room curve. Calculate target level should be at 75 dB. We're just gonna leave it like that. And now we're gonna EQ up to 500 hertz. 10 dB to 500 is okay. Same settings, to be honest with you. Nothing is gonna be changed here. 3 dB individual max boost, flatness target 1. Let's match response target, and I'm okay with this. I like it. Let's see what low shelf will get us. That just makes something really crazy looking down there. I'm not really sure why is it doing there. Probably this is not low enough. I think by default this is minus 12 to plus 12 or something. Maybe that's why it's doing it. I did change this. Oh, come on, minus 12. Sorry about that noise. Let me see if this fixes it. No, anyway, we're not using a lot of low shelf. And we don't need to use narrow filters below 200. This is gorgeous. I like it. Save filter to coefficient file. And let's save left EQ 500. If you will change this to 1500, if you decided to mess with that, it lowered that a little bit. Not a huge difference. It's really up to you if you want to mess with that. Let's save this also. I didn't mean to recalculate it. I want to save it. And let's just name this 1500. Okie dokie. Once we loaded the project, now once we have individual EQs for each individual speaker, we're gonna left click and hold a speaker and pull it outside that group. We pull it apart. We're gonna right click, load target curve, and we're gonna select the 500. We're not gonna do that because, well, I don't want to say that I'm an idiot, but I forgot to do something. We're gonna have to go back here and make a new target curve, room curve, house curve. We're gonna start at 10 dB. Well, we're gonna more like set it to 30 dB. We're gonna set the end hertz to 20,000, which is now 20,000. And let me show you what this looks like. So obviously this is not right. I think we done 7 dB, and then the low end we're gonna do -2.5 just to roll off the highs a little bit more. These are Klipsch speakers. They are regarded as bright speakers, so we're gonna pull down a little bit, but it's up to you. You can play with it as much as you want. Okay, what we're gonna change also is the low cut hertz. We're gonna set this to 500 and this to 1000. Okay, so now you see here that it starts rolling off around 1000 and starts rolling up. We're gonna change this to linear, I believe. Nope, curved. There you go. This is what we need for speakers. So it will start going up around 150 or so. We can even pull it back a little bit just to imitate what Dirac does. So I believe, actually we can't make it the same, so let's do 99. Let me see, because usually it starts rolling up around 200-ish, something like this. This is already rolling up a couple dB by 190, so let's change this to 700 maybe. Yeah, more like it. So that's more like something what Dirac does. Does this? Yeah. You see it starts rolling up at 200, and if this was at -2.5, it will start rolling down significant. I mean, something that you can tell is gonna be at 2000, just like here around 2000. It starts rolling off a little bit, but it starts rolling off there. You can also change this. You can save it and see what frequency response you get, and then come back and change it to log linear, which is gonna be like a more aggressive curve on the bottom end. Your response is not gonna look like that. It's just, let me show you what it will look like. Okay, so once we have this curve, we're gonna copy this and we're gonna place it back on the top of this page. Let's copy this, put it here. Come on, laptop. And this is our new room curve right there. Now we're gonna save this. Left 500 EQ. Download. Now we go back, right click on that, load target curve. Bada bing, bada boom. You see how that high end was chopped off like that? It's not like that in real life, in Dirac. So it's a nice roll off. If you use that, the other one that rolls off curved, it's not gonna roll it off how Dirac does it. This is more like how Dirac does it, and that's it. You can do all the speakers like this, but to show you how to measure all the other speakers, I have to close this. You can do different target curves for all the speakers. You're gonna measure them, and let's say your surround speakers, they don't really go down. The high frequencies, they don't go up. Like let's say they're gonna end up down a few dB. Then you don't have to like really roll off the high end -2.5 dB. You can leave it at -0.5 dB or 0. Or if they are super crazy and they go up, you can try -4 dB. You're gonna measure, you're gonna experiment, upload it, re-upload it, try again. It takes a while. So it's not as simple. Okay, so when we do custom measurement, we're gonna go to measurement. I'm gonna leave something down in the description, another thing that you're gonna have to download. It's gonna have multiple files in it for all kind of speakers, and it will have a main file, which I'm gonna show you. You're gonna click on from file, so the playback is gonna happen from a file. You're gonna click on that open file, which is gonna be a long 21-second sweep. This one is saying ready to measure. So now it's waiting for a chirp. The file that you're gonna play has the chirp and the beginning at the end, both included in that file. So you're gonna look for that file on the computer and you're gonna play it, stay quiet, leave the room and measure the speaker. Let me try to find that real fast. Okay, I had to quickly turn on my computer because I don't have those files on this computer, so you're not gonna really see it. I'm gonna try to show you the screen, but basically we're gonna switch over to another input. Make sure that the correct slot is activated, the calibration with the flat target curves for every single speaker happen to be the case. Okay, let me turn this around. Okay, so you're gonna see files C, FL, FR, front wide left, front wide right, LFE, etc, etc, etc. What you wanna do is, we already have one measurement, this one here, which is set to 75 dB, okay? The volume is 72. If you want to be safe, you can lower it a little bit, but I think we're gonna be, I can tell you that's gonna be way too low. Yes, I'm speaking because it doesn't really matter. It's gonna be way too low. So right now I'm gonna have to change the volume and make sure that we land on the same SPL. So this is 63, that's 77, so that's like 12 dB difference. So let's go to 78. Okay, let's do this again real quick. Okay, we are very, very close, but not exactly on the money. I would say probably like 2 more dB. That's gonna be very close to reference. So let's go 80 and one more measurement, and hopefully that's gonna be the same. Okay, obviously if you play it back through VLC, make sure that the level is 100% and make sure that the volume on the computer is set to 100% also, okay? And it looks like, okay, so we did get it right. It deviates a little bit from the other measurement, tiny bit here and there, but I'm not really sure what to say about that, but this is what you're gonna need to do. I mean, I am very, very close to the reference level, 80 instead of 82, but I would do the same thing. I would do one measurement from Room EQ Wizard with the speaker set to 75, and then whatever you download and whatever you play, just play with the volume to get them the same level, okay? And obviously, so you will have, you know, as I said, top middle, top rear, front wide, whatever you have, this will have that. So just correctly name everything in here and saved. Then you can, or make sure that every speaker is set to large before you do any measurement. Run these measurements, EQ them, save everything, and then convert to the target curve and go from there, okay? So I think that's it. With this, you don't really need to use MSO or anything like that. I did not have any luck with MSO and Dirac. I got it super flat with MSO, seat to seat optimization, and then once I ran Dirac, it just messed everything up. I'm not really sure why. I couldn't get it flat with Dirac, so I was told by everybody on the Facebook group, Dirac Facebook group, and the Mini DSP REW Facebook group to not do EQ on top of EQ, because basically that's what it is. MSO uses EQs, you put EQs on individual subwoofers, and then Dirac is basically also an EQ, a target curve that makes different correction on top of the PQ correction. So that didn't work out. So hopefully this helps you, and if it does, let me know how it turned out. I love to hear from you guys, so leave a comment down below. Again, you know, remember to adjust your levels. I'm gonna leave a video link down below so you can do that after the calibration. Make sure the subwoofer is set to the correct level, and enjoy the movie watching. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Another thing to consider is, and hear me out on this, the first measurement should be the MLP. That's the most important one. The delays, trims, everything is set to that. Now, if you have 2 or 3 seating positions, yes, you can set the MLP wherever you sit. Now, if you have 4 seats, what are you gonna do? You can measure third seat from one end, and the delays and everything will be set to that speaker, which makes the very first seat away from you the worst one. Or you can measure that center with the center channel and the front speakers, and yes, the front 2 middle speakers will be off a tiny bit, and then the outer seats will be off a little bit more, but at least they are evenly off from each other, instead of making the second seat from the left perfect and then the fourth one is way off. It's up to you how you want to do it. As I said, you know, MLP is usually considered the most important seat, but what do you do if your wife happens to sit there, or your friend happens to sit there in your seat? You're gonna make them stand up and jump into the other seat because that is your seat and everything is aligned to that seat. So yeah, it's up to you. The thing that I have seen online, I saw HD Movie Source uploading a video about angling the mic forward a little bit to get better center channel clarity. Some people were mentioning that finally their center channel sounds better, but basically the reasoning is behind that, and I'm going to show you a video on screen, is to make sure that none of the speakers are has a very high angle compared to the tip of the mic. So as with many people, and probably most of you, have the center channel under the TV, which will be under the ear level, and because of that is going to be under the microphone tip. So what he was saying, that you could angle the microphone a little bit so that tip is not 90 degrees away from the tweeter on the center channel. Basically you splitting the difference between the surround, which is usually higher, and the center channel. Okay, if you have seen some of Anthony Grimani's videos, I believe he even angles it a lot more. I think he does something like this, if not even higher angle. I'm gonna be honest, I did email Dirac and I asked them about this. They told me 2 things. They told me, first of all, don't do that, point it up exactly to the ceiling, and it doesn't even matter because the mic is omnidirectional. Well, okay, my question is why it needs to be pointed up exactly if it doesn't matter, because it's omnidirectional. If it's omnidirectional, it shouldn't matter if the microphone is like this or like anything. I mean, obviously don't do anything crazy, but I don't know. It's up to you if you want to try angling it forward and see if you get better channel clarity, center channel clarity. I tried it. It didn't really make too much difference for me. I even measured the frequency response for the center channel with tilted, without tilted. The difference in the frequency response was minuscule. So it's up to you. I just wanted to throw it out there. You do what you want to do. Now let's get started.